Oh, look at this.
炎の錬金術師ね。上がる速度が速いと落ちる速度も速いものさ。
南部へ視察に行かれました。
That voice though. Is that right? The South. The dog.
嫌な匂いがするぜ。
だが懐かしい。これは。
札に来てみればとんだ見つけ物だな。突入。
Whoa. He did name drop the underground in the last episode. Greed, that is.
逃げるとは卑怯な。
Interesting.
先生。グリードさん。
待てる。
Greed son.
お前は無事だったか。逃げる算段しないとな。
それは困る。
Oh.
ああ。
Look who shows up.
大サンド。なんでここに。
この国で一番のお偉いさんが何の用だよ。
Right.
君、年はいくつだね。
あ？
私は今年60になる。年を取ると体が思うように動かなくなってな。こんな仕事さっさと終わらせて。
I mean, you're looking like you're in good shape though, King Bradley.
引退しな。おっさん。
Oh. Yeah, he moves. Yeah, he moves quick.
おいおいおい、なんつうおっさんだ。
Oh my god. Look at this. Oh, he's the same size.
では本気でやらせてもらう。
Super cow. Whoa. Yeah. The body shot though. Overhand right. Look at this.
久しぶりに気は筋肉を踊る。さすがアームストロング殿。俺もイシュバール殲滅戦に参加していた。元同志か。
Oh, it came off.
私はね、君のような最強の盾を持っているわけでも、すべてを貫く最強の矛を持っているわけでもない。
Oh, the
最
Ouroboros.
強の盾があるように、私には最強の目がある。
Hey. No, Greed. Get up, get up, get up and run.
さてグリード君、君はあと何回殺せば死ぬのかね。これで15回は死んだか。あと何回かね。
Wow. He feels it too.
尻尾を巻いて逃げてもいいぞ。
そうしたいところだが、犬ってのは忠誠心が強くてよ。
Oh man. I don't want them to die.
そいつを逃がして
I like them.
頼んだぞ。
いいから開けなさい。仲間がやられるの。ここで黙って見てろっての。出すわけにはいかない。頼まれたんだ。二人に。バレちゃった。お願いだから。
Oh man.
出ちゃう。
Oh.
俺の部下をこんなにしちまって。
駒に情が移ったか。くだらん。
Pawn
ど
time?
うだ？金も女も部下も何もかも俺の所有物なんだよ。だ か。俺は俺の所有物を見捨てねえ。
Interesting.
何せ欲が深いからな。
Whoa. Okay. Put up a fight. Let's go. Oh no.
ダメだマーシャルさんブラッドレ
Oh. Wow. Oh, it's coming back to him. It's coming back. Whoa. All of them, right?
おいしっかりしろおい返事しろよあら
Whoa.
兄さん大丈夫か
Wow, this is
勝手に開いて引っ張り出させてもらった。
quite the bloodbath of an episode.
君の鋼の腕と弟の鎧姿、何か関係があるのかね。正直者だな。どうですかな。あなたも軍に守られてみては。
国家錬金術師に
いかにも。
見ての通り、私は病弱な主婦です。
But interesting, interesting.
また来ますよ。その時には心変わりしているかもしれませんからな。
Wow. It's a great episode.
ほら、ヒューズ中佐にも話しただろ。賢者の石に関わ
Oh,
ったやつ。
wow.
ヒューズ殿。
兄さん
I remember.
あのさ僕の体があっちに持ってかれた時の記憶が戻ったんだ
グリードもウロボロスの入れ墨を持ってた。
Führer himself as well.
なんで皆殺しにする必要がある。尻尾をつかみたいならとっ捕まえて聞き出しゃいいだろ。
大総統が出てくるってのもおかしいよ
Yeah.
ああ、どうにも納得できないことば
Good,
かりだ。
good. Keep questioning it.
しばらく軍にくっついてみるか。
For now.
おかえりなさい、大総統。
Lust?
南部の視察はどうだった？
鋼の錬金術師の弟。ひょっとしたら二人の師匠も人柱になりうる人材かもしれない。
あら、懐かしいわね。1世紀前にここを出た顔だわ。起きなさい、グリード。
Long time no see, eh?
皆さんお揃いで。
いいざまね、最強の盾。
おめえは相変わらずいい女だな。
Yes, she
最
is.
強の矛、色欲のラストさんよ。
まだ仕事中よ。
Jeez.
本当にどいつもこいつも100年前から変わっちゃいねえな。
Bradley?
こいつは誰だ？
Pride?
今度のロー
Wrath.
キング・ブラッドレーという名の人間として、お父様が最後の詰めに用意された私たちの兄弟。
年を取るホムンクルズ。そんなありか。
ありえないなんてことはありえない。
Yeah.
あんたの口癖だったはずだよ。
ねえ
忘れたの？
兄弟で争うなど、そんな醜いことはこの父の前でしてくれるな。
Whoa.
よう、親父殿。
Father.
しばらく見ないうちに随分老け込んだんじゃねえの。
我が魂を分けた息子よ。なぜこの父を裏切った？
Yep, it looks just like their father.
また私のために働いてくれんか。
Same beard style.
ノーだ。そうか。
Look at this.
趣味悪い。
生まれた場所へ。我が魂へ帰るがよい。
Oh wow, he's gonna drink it up, huh?
来たるべき日に向けて
It's the same type of liquid they show in the opening.
安寧を祈る
Not the opening, the rules and all that. Ha! There's that moon again, full moon. This is a phenomenal episode. Jeez. There's that son he spoke of.
ただいまセリム
Salim.
あなたもう若くないのですから後進に席を譲ってゆっくりなさったらいいのに
Now that you mention it.
現役だぞ
そんなもの習ってどうするの
国家資格を取ってお父さんの役に立ちたいんです。
では将来はセリムに手伝ってもらうかな
Okay, yeah, that is just phenomenal. It really is. I think, you know, it's a given that it's one of the best episodes of this series. Contender for the best episode even so far, you know, 14 episodes in. But yeah, easily goes into my all-timer list for anime episodes, right? Top 20, top 15, perhaps even top 10. Because really, it certainly had that, even though this anime isn't really, you know, kind of broken up into seasons or anything, it's just like a straight 64 episode count, but that felt like a legitimate season finale. I mean, it's such a substantial turning point for this anime, for this story. You know, the distinct feeling I was getting from this is, okay, now it begins, right? Because wow, yeah, I mean, the revelations, wow, they just keep coming one after another. It's just really crazy, the amount of stuff that's, you know, kind of playing out over the span of these 22, 23 minutes, right? Yet it didn't feel rushed. It didn't. I thought it was beautifully paced, actually, because, you know, so much is being kind of given to the audience here, you know, the exposition, the big revelations, yet there is build-up to this, right? It's not out of the blue. It's not out of left field. A lot of these things have been set up over the span of these past 13 episodes. I really feel like there's so much information already given to the audience at this point that it almost kind of feels like everything's there. Everything's there. Now it's all about putting it into the right order, or, you know, kind of figuring things out, kind of like a puzzle. You have all the pieces. At least that's the, you know, the distinct feeling I'm getting from this now. And the other one being strap in. It's about to begin. And, you know, speaking of confirmations and revelations, yeah, King Bradley. King Bradley, that's one of the big ones of this episode. Now, it's not the biggest shocker, is it? Right? I feel like the fact that this revelation came so early on, I mean, maybe it's not that early on, but episode 14 out of 64, it still feels like it's, you know, I'm not even close to the midpoint. But it already came, right? At this point, it's out there. They've given it to the audience. Bit of dramatic irony, of course. Yeah, you know, like I mentioned, I've been highly suspicious of King Bradley, and I'm sure most, you know, at this point of the series, leading up to episode 14, most are suspicious of Bradley. I think that's kind of by design. And that's also one of the reasons I think this revelation came kind of early on, because I feel like they felt like, or the writer or the creator of this anime or the story felt like they've, you know, adequately foreshadowed and hinted at and set up that indeed King Bradley has other motives, right? That there's certainly more than meets the eye. I had to do it. Essentially, you know, even though he kind of looks the oldest out of the lot, he's essentially the youngest. He's father's youngest child in that sense. Though, did he even actually refer to father as father at any point? I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. He didn't speak much, certainly not to father. But yeah, clearly he's not the same type of homunculus or homunculi, because there's that age factor, right? Here you have a homunculi that ages, and you see Greed's reaction to that, of course. So there's certainly a human element to this homunculi, King Bradley. So perhaps a hybrid, much like his son, right? Salim. And, you know, I mean, it's quite noticeable that the name, yeah, you know, it's it's a unique name in that sense, given that his father's name is King Bradley, and then you have Selim, and that's kind of like an Arabic or Turkish name, right? So unless I'm overthinking it, let's see if there's something more into that aspect of it, that name. And I'm sure most of us had the exact same thought. The moment Selim shows up on screen, it's like, oh no. Even some of the dialogue, right? It's really alluding and foreshadowing that he might play a role. This young child might kind of get dragged into this, become a part of all of this. So yeah, let's see. And at one point near the conclusion, he's even saying, I kind of want to get certified, state certified, so I can help father, right? That can apply to two different types of fathers. Of course, on the surface level, he's speaking of his own father, King Bradley. But, for us, the audience, it kind of potentially applies to that father, right? The father that is underground. The one that lurks underground, yet is presented as this godlike figure, right? That traditional, that classic robe, sitting on a throne, right? Low angle shots looking right up at him, right? Presented as this larger than life figure, a titan even, right? Of course, he's got the beard and the blonde long hair from the looks of it as well. So yeah, clearly, it's a depiction of that classical, traditional look of God, right? Or description of God, right? And then of course you've got God's children, right? The sins of the father. That's another thing that kind of applies to many of them, even beyond, the father and the sins specifically, right? You can apply to the Elric brothers and their father, right? Sins of the father. You've got King Bradley, sins of the father. Young Selim might kind of get dragged into this, like I just mentioned. Listen, one thing I'm pretty sure about is that, this kid, he's going to get dragged into this. I'm repeating myself, but I kind of want to just establish that. I think it's quite unmissable here, right? Especially given the things they've shown us already in this anime, in this story, and the possibilities, and the dark turns. It is more than happy to take. And then there's that confirmation that these sins are from Father's soul, right? And greed specifically returns to it, right? In the form of the liquid Philosopher's Stone that I've seen a few times now, right? Dr. Marco, and also, I called it intro, but I'm talking about just that reminder, right? Though they don't really show it anymore, do they? And, at this point, I've essentially seen most of them. There's just one missing, right? Pride, because they showed me a quick glimpse of Sloth. And of course, the confirmation that indeed Bradley was a homunculi or a homunculus, and he's Wrath. Though, of course, like I mentioned earlier, he's a bit of a hybrid, isn't he? And of course, they really lean into that aspect of it, don't they? Earlier on as well, right? His age. I'm about to turn 60. And again, you kind of have to turn to Greed, who doesn't even recognize Wrath, right? This is the first time Greed is kind of meeting this new Wrath, I suppose. He might have known a different one before he left. And that was at least 100 years ago, right? And, I find it interesting that he's kind of, again, hung up there and, ultimately he kind of dies. I don't know. I'm not sure if I can classify it as dying. I mean, I suppose, because he kind of just returned to a different form, right? At least maybe that's what I'm hoping for. Maybe I'm kind of latching onto that idea because maybe there could be another Greed, right? But that being said, it might not be this Greed. It might be a totally different type of Greed, right? If Father can separate that aspect again. But I find it interesting that Greed felt that, it's kind of odd or it's kind of strange or interesting that, they remain the same for those 100 years. That they're kind of stuck in the same spot even, maybe. Kind of based on some of Greed's trajectory, right? His path. And, on the opposite end of that toast to their loyalty, I think it's a reminder as well, right? These are the consequences of any sort of deviation from the path, from the chosen path for them, for the sins. Anything that resembles any sort of identity crisis or a different type of identity, something separate or different from the path that's been laid for them, right? Anything that doesn't kind of serve the goals or the ultimate, path or the end game that father is kind of chasing, right? And hoping to put into motion. But greed did deviate, right? Hence the consequences. But he found his own family, a family he kind of put together or he chose, right? And I think that's a lovely aspect of these last 2 episodes. And they knew, right? They knew they're not going to make it out alive. Yet they still, try to go help greed. Yet they still tried their best to, hold off, King Bradley long enough so Martell could potentially, get out of there. But, unfortunately and sadly, Martell gets perhaps the most disturbing death of all. Or at least for me, that felt like the most disturbing death of all of them, really. In that sense, it really was quite reminiscent of Levi Squad, right? Getting decimated by the female Titan. I was starting to have those flashes in my mind as it's playing out, as they're getting picked apart one by one by the calm and calculated cold fury of King Bradley, of wrath. And apparently he's not even in his prime anymore, right? Again, really leaning into the whole, yes, this man ages. He ages unlike the others. Like lust and gluttony, all of them, right? They don't age, they look the same. There's a lot of distinct and definitive confirmations for that, multiple confirmations even. It feels like he is a hybrid, right? That he might actually be part human and part homunculi or homunculus, but he's just devastating out there, isn't he? Wow, he just takes them out, dismantles them. In fact, he kills Greed 15 times, right? Over and over. And he's asking him, how many more times can he die? And how insane is that, right? He's feeling that pain every single time. They kind of confirmed that in the last episode as well. Yes, he can regenerate, but he's feeling that pain all right. I really liked him. I did. And, I found it really interesting that there is this rogue Sin, essentially, right? Who does kind of end up making his own family. But yeah, I loved his parting shots. He kind of goes down fighting. It's a great character. It really is. Once again, they confirm or show us that indeed there is a striking resemblance to Ed and Al's father. Some of these shots and some of the angles, the profile shot as well, and especially the beard, right? The sharp beard. It's quite unmissable, of course. This could be their father's twin. That's how striking the resemblance is. Yet, that being said, I don't think this is their father. They've shown us that, father is also a homunculi, right? They show us the red eyes, right? And they all came from him, from his soul. But the head scratcher, right? It kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, is the fact that he looks like their father, yet he could easily be 100, 200 years old, right? He has to be older than the Sins, essentially, because they came from him. But, yet he looks just like their father. So, listen, I don't think that's their father, but that's an image of their father, for sure. It's a sad prospect or potential, but it's possible that this father thing or being might have taken, or might have killed and taken on that essence or that image of their father. So, yeah, there is that potential that he might be dead. But, Sensei Izumi, just recently she mentioned that she ran into an alchemist, right? Again, he ended up being their father. So that felt, it felt like it wasn't too long ago either, right? So yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Unless of course I don't know enough about their father, and he might have his own crazy past. Essentially, I think anything's possible, right? It's that whole Grisha Jaeger aspect. Anything is possible because I don't have a backstory. And the things he's kind of tied up in and a part of, Philosopher's Stone and all that, I just need to see more. I need to watch more and get to those moments, hopefully, backstory moments of their father. Exciting. That's one of the most exciting parts of this anime as of this point, or prospects of this anime. Their father in his story, right? Whew, that is going to be something. Is there even a possibility that Ed and Al's father was responsible for this? Maybe a failed experiment or something, right? It's possible. It's possible that he might have created this father being by accident or not by choice. But yeah, kind of circling back to Greed, he kind of gets sentenced to hell, doesn't he? By this false god almost, because again, he's being presented as that classical depiction of God, yet he is kind of like the ruler of the underworld, isn't he? Right? The demon of the underworld, perhaps. But like I mentioned earlier, the most disturbing death was of Martel. Wow. I mean, there's a lot of striking imagery in this episode. Some of the standout of the entire anime, actually. A lot of shots here, yeah, they stick out. They stick out. They're kind of the types of shots that are kind of stuck in your mind from that point on. And one of them being, Bradley's blade inside and, blood just gushing out of Al. Imagine being Al in that position, right? A bystander as there's a death happening, a murder, someone getting butchered inside his makeshift body, his suit of armor. Wow. Though, of course, from the looks of it, or it looks like that death, the shocking experience, those more specifically, given, the focus on the blood splatter, it kind of slows down even in slow motion. It shows us Martel's blood splashing onto the seal. For a moment, I got kind of scared because I thought, oh my goodness, is it going to, rub it off or something? Is it going to like smear it? But no, it kind of triggered his memories. They came, rushing back to him, and I get a confirmation, a jaw dropper of a confirmation that thing, right? That thing at the end of episode 2, that I initially just kind of assumed, oh, it is some form of their mother. But here you see that one shot of that hand reaching out, and it's from Al's perspective, right? So that's Al in there, or at least his soul was in there, right? Though he didn't mention that part of it to Ed, but I feel like he is going to bring that up at some point. I mean, it's pretty clear he's the one reaching out. It's from his perspective. And then, of course, I've seen how it plays out from that point on in episode 2, right? Ed, yeah, he had to pay the price. But yeah, the memory's been unlocked. It's crazy, actually. It's crazy that all these things, King Bradley confirmation, Al's memory being back, everything is just happening in this one episode, right? So, I mean, the rest, it kind of leaves not a blank canvas, but, so many of these mysteries are kind of solved or answered. Questions have been answered that the next steps are about to be really new and exciting. And I tried to, pick out any differences in terms of Al's experience in there. Izumi Sensei showed up, their mother showed up. I'll have to kind of go back and compare it to Ed in episode 2. And once again, the fight sequences, impressive, really quite impressive and enjoyable and entertaining, right? Again, so dynamic, so fluid. It's just fantastic. That's been one of the ongoing impressive things about this anime, right? The fight scenes. I'm not like the biggest action junkie or anything in terms of anime. But yeah, these fight scenes really feel quite dynamic. You really feel those different styles. You have Armstrong and the cow Chimera. Rao, there, it really felt like a clash of the titans. These two juggernauts going at it. The devastating force of hand-to-hand combat. You feel it, Or you kind of feel the impact of it. And then on the flip side, you feel the incomprehensible speed, right? As he just butchers Greed. Oh my goodness, he just cuts him up. Wow, man. Greed really goes through it, doesn't he? But how impressive is Bradley, though? Wow, how formidable is Bradley? He's going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem. And, I've got to say, I really do quite enjoy Bradley. I enjoy that character. Wrath. King Bradley, Wrath. But yeah, you really feel, through the animation, the dynamic animation, you really feel that calculated, controlled fury, cold fury of King Bradley or Wrath, right? The ultimate eye. Jeez. Yeah, most impressive. It really is. For someone who's not really into fight sequences that much, I enjoy these quite a bit because they're so impressive, right? Clearly so impressive and engaging. And lastly, Mustang shows up in Central, and that's a major plot point as well, right? So, it's crazy. It really is crazy. Again, it felt like a season finale, right? Though, of course, the moment he shows up, you see some of the old heads, perhaps a lot of the corrupt higher ups. They see this young, young compared to them at least. Much younger in comparison to them. Though, of course, him being an alchemist, state alchemist, gives him an automatic title as well, right? So that in itself is quite a jump to begin with, right? As a state alchemist. But as expected, his presence there is being questioned. The merit of it is being questioned. The merit of him getting that position is being questioned. And you see that all of them have that attitude that it's just a matter of time before, he falls just as quick. Somehow I doubt that. And, a few more things before I sign off. King Bradley. Now there's open confirmation that indeed Izumi Sensei is also a candidate for human sacrifice. So I was on the right path. Though it was pretty simple. It was as simple as kind of, 2 + 2 in that sense, right? If Ed is meant to be a human sacrifice, an important human sacrifice, and again, this, the thing that sticks out like a sore thumb is the fact that he attempted human transmutation. I kind of just applied the same thing to Sensei Izumi, right? And I got my answer a few episodes ago about her attempt. So yeah, Ed, Al, Izumi, right? And Isaac McDougall potentially could have been one, but of course he died. And again, that was the first time I did see Father, right? Episode 1, Bradley and his presence was noted, especially or more importantly by the Elric brothers as well. So I love that it's getting there now, that the Elric brothers are also kind of starting to question these things and starting to question King Bradley as well. That was damn exciting. It really was, really makes me excited for this next phase of the anime now. So if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in early access or perhaps even full length, consider checking out the Patreon page. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also, there's links for social media, if that's your thing. And yeah, I think that's about it for this one, folks. Thank you for joining me and thank you for your time, as time is precious. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.